Hello, this is Chuck Saby, and I'm at Salon Artist Gallery at 294 Main Street in Park Forest. And at Salon, they are celebrating Black History Month with a wonderful exhibit of artwork. And we have the pleasure of having artist Marilyn Stewart with us. And she's going to share a little bit about some of her work. Marilyn, we've had a chance to look over it already. Fascinating artwork. Let's go right to these wonderful pieces. And if you want to just give us a little bit of the story on this work.
Well, this is a portrait of my former pastor who retired, Reverend Ozzie Smith Jr. from Covenant United Church in Christ, and I did it as a celebration of for his retirement. And so this is one of his favorite jackets, and he plays the saxophone. He was a former teacher, musician, and a senior pastor at our church. And so I love that jacket, and I wanted to do a portrait, but I wanted to do a different type of portrait. So I chose this with his jacket. I took the picture off of a Zoom church service, froze it, and did this in pastel pencil on black paper with his favorite jacket and his favorite instrument.
And then gave it to him as a retirement gift. It's spectacular.
Year. Thank you.
You told me about going to the local music store, MusicNet, getting a saxophone so you'd have it technically correct.
I went to look at one, and then my nephew plays the saxophone, and so I went to his house and said, could you finger this the way this looks on this photograph I had? And because I didn't really know what I was looking at, so I had to look at a real instrument to say, okay, this is what this is, and what is, to make it correct, because, and I said, as a musician, would you recognize this as a saxophone?
And it passed the test, and
so
it's a spectacular piece. You told me about this picture from a photograph you saw of a distinguished gentleman, and you even went into detail about the width of the strings.
Well, yeah, I took, this was from a brochure. And I was in Alabama, and I was at a hotel, and this was on the back of the brochure. And so I carried this photograph for about maybe two years. And so the paper is done on, this color paper is tan, like about the color of his knuckles. And so I did the photograph, and when I finished it, I noticed that the strings were all the same width, and I went, that's not correct. I said, the strings are different widths, so I had to actually thin them down and look at them. And then for his hand, I was just trying to figure out what does that look like? Because I love these musical pieces I've done, but I don't play an instrument. I tried, but that wasn't my area. So that was that trying to get the instrument. He's like, as a musician, would you recognize this? Is he fingering it right? Are the strings right? And so I was able to get that correct on that.
And unfortunately, just because of the time of the day, we have a lot of glare.
Yes.
So anybody listening to this, the recommendation is that you just come to see it in person.
Yes.
They're truly beautiful pieces. And as we stood here earlier and looked at this, you're not limited to musicians in your artwork. And there's several more pieces.
This is like my first watercolor, and watercolor is done on white paper. So you just leave the white of the picture is the white of the paper. So this was a watercolor. I paint from photographs. I took a picture of this photograph of this plant in Hawaii, and it's like, oh, it's a common flower. I thought it was a Hawaiian flower, but this is a common flower.
So wait a minute. You took this picture while you were in Hawaii.
Right.
So it's January. Oh no, it's February, and it's like below 10. Do you wish you were in Hawaii right now?
Please, yes. Yes, it's like, please.
Right.
Yeah, yes, and so I just love the photograph. It turned out really well. And this is let me see, pastel pencil, watercolor. This is oil. And actually I did a 3D because this is actual screen on here.
Oh, nice.
And this is a print, and so I made another print where I could do a different scene. Like I could change the window scene. I can make it winter.
So
spring.
when it was printed, you then add the screening,
right?
And the texture on this, you actually have
It's a wood
framing,
wood frame
wood
for
material. So there's some three-dimensional component to this.
It took
work.
a long time to finish this painting because I just didn't finish it. And that's why I said, let me finish this painting. So an oil painting is really forgiving. You can do that for a long time.
And Marilyn, you said it took a long time. How long have you been painting?
Well, I started painting on the walls of my house when I was when I was like a child.
Were you commissioned to do that?
No, my mother
Did you have
my
permission?
mother did not say, did not allow us to do things like that, but I did it. And how do you know it was mine? Because I signed it.
Ah!
She signed the work on the wall.
So let's, I'm
But
sorry.
yeah, since I was a child, but I really didn't start doing this is like one of my first art pieces. And I think that was like in maybe 77, that was dated. But that was like a oil painting, but it was done with a palette knife, not a brush. And so I just liked that photograph. And so I started, after college really, is when I really started getting more serious and taking some art lessons. So I could know what the materials to buy and what I wanted to do. So that was one of my first after college.
Let's move over here because this particular
this
drawing, correct? Was it pencil or pastel?
This is pastel pencil. This is a friend of mine,
glare is just...
Joan Colosso.
Uh-huh.
She's a jazz singer in Chicago area, and this photograph was her on television. I froze the television, and I took the picture. I altered it because she was actually holding the microphone, and I had to research the microphone. I forgot the name of it, but I had to research the microphone. I went to another party where she was, and I liked these earrings, so I changed the earrings from the ones that were in the photograph.
And you took a picture of her at the party.
I took a picture of the party. I was like,
just kind of, hey, I just want to take a picture of you.
I take pictures at parties, so I took
So
a
she
picture.
had no idea?
No, she didn't know I was taking a picture of her earrings. So they fit better than the ones that were on there. And she actually has a print of this one.
And then you presented it to her as a surprise, or she didn't know?
She didn't know.
She didn't commission you?
No.
Wow.
But I think she did use it for a business card. She used the photograph as a business card.
Well, it's spectacular.
Yeah.
So as we wind up here, this picture.
This is my great nephew. This is in watercolor. This is DJ. Yeah, watercolor, and that's his sister.
And then over here.
And that's watercolor, his sister.
Fantastic. So
Pastel pencil, and this is colored pencil. This is actually different. It's pastel pencil and colored pencil, pastel pencil.
And you, obviously a lot of connection to your subject matter, your pastor and relatives, and then landscapes and
I want to be more. I want to be
flowers.
diverse. I want to
You
be
are diverse. I mean,
but
with your medium.
I like children, and I kind of favor pastel pencil. But as I said, I like different mediums. So and in photography, this is a photograph of mine. It's
my
like
goodness.
abstract photograph.
Well, let's try to get the glare off that. And again, the recommendation is to come here through February 27th, Salon Artist Gallery. We have talked to artist Marilyn Stewart. Thank you so much, Marilyn. Spectacular work. And again, come and check out this exhibit.